that girl is going to be burned at the stake, right? But there's something interesting about the fact that it's almost like a sacrifice, and it makes me think, what is this role, this idea of sacrifice in modern times? The idea that we should sacrifice someone if they are to blame for our hardships. And you see this come out, this desire to, the desire to blame and to, if you will, sacrifice, but more accurately would be punish, is what we would say, want to punish someone for causing something. But it has this strange parallel to sacrifice to me, which is something horrible is going on, you're to blame, we're going to almost kind of offer you up as a sacrifice for causing this hardship upon us. It had this weird parallel to me of sacrifice, the girl. Like, obviously that's not what they're saying, but we can't deny that sacrifice is a major thing that many human societies did in times of major hardship, or when they thought there was something on the horizon that was coming that they needed to win favor of the gods from.
Do you want to talk about human sacrifice?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm wondering, clearly there's some kind of impulse in the human being, not consciously, but this idea that, can we exchange something here? Can we barter to ameliorate punishment that has been bestowed upon us by some unknown force or something? You know, like, obviously people feel maybe intuitively like the pandemic is a punishment. And you see that a lot with, I see that as the underlying emotion that for this desire to blame. Because it's like think of it, if you're a kid that gets in trouble or something, immediately the first thing is, no, it's their fault. I can get the punishment off of me by telling you it's their fault. So I feel like there's almost this kind of primitive desire to see if we can barter our way out of hardship by offering up a scapegoat, but more primitively a sacrifice.
Yeah, well, you're right. And that is how human beings act. And it doesn't work because that's fantasy. Now, what you can do, potentially, possibly, offer up an idea. Maybe you can sacrifice a little bit of yourself and find some sort of redemption in that. You know, like, who brutalizes and sets on fire a witch and then thinks they did good and now they're good? That kind of person isn't that person disgusting to you? They're disgusting to me. I'm disgusted by it. I mean, again, that's that Squire John, Jan's, when he's there looking at the thing, he's like, yeah, I thought about just killing them all. And I was like, yeah, I'm with you, Squire Jans. Like, this part of you just wants to, like, all right, there's this, it's grotesque to me. I hate.
That's an interesting misanthropic kind of response.
It's not misanthropic.
I want to kill them all. It's like this idea that humanity itself is the flaw.
Well, okay.
Which there's merit to. I get it. It's not that it's inherently wrong.
It's extraordinarily, it's something I hate about humanity, where they do this, where they take weak people or weak things and they sacrifice it up to something to try to, like, fix their own life. It's just something, I don't like it. I've always hated it and I don't like it. And also it doesn't fucking work, and so that's all I'm saying. It's something very much that I am against, and it's why, yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
It's interesting to me. I mean, I agree. Obviously, I think we do have this sense of disgust, but there is something that is parallel to that for some people, which is the terror, the fear. And so if the terror and the fear surpass your ability to humanize the witch at the stake, because you think the witch on the stake is your ticket out of terror, then you're going to be the person that burns the witch at the stake. And my fear is that I see that impulse clear as day. I see some people that I swear to God, they would be happy to put some people up on the stake if it meant like redemption or, an assuaging of their fear of the fragility of life. But the thing is that what is the modern sacrifice, right?
See, you're giving too much credit to people again. I'll get real Squire yawns on it. You're assuming that they actually are doing that because they think that it would help, which you could at least understand.
Well, can that be the conscious thing they tell themselves while there's a deeper motive that is not as noble, of course? Because we have to tell ourselves stories that we can live with, right? Unless we're sociopathic. We say that what we're doing is good and moral and for other people. Really, it's a selfish motive. It's a selfish motive.
No, I reject it. Look, I reject it because of this. You can't set a human being on fire. There is no person that can watch a human being set on fire and justify it to themselves. And if you listen to their words saying, "This, I did it for God," and you believe that, then you're abetting the lie that allows for that. And you can say, well, inside their little brains, they're saying that, they know the truth. It doesn't, no.
What do you think it is, though? What do you think it is then? Like, so there was the witch burnings, right?
I think
all the
it's
witch trials
common.
and
I
whatever.
think that it's common cruelty. I think it's common cruelty. And I think that weak people use opportunities to project cruelty because they're not actually strong enough in their life that if they chose to be cruel, they could do it. That's what I honestly think. That's the cynical viewpoint. That's the Squire Jan's viewpoint. I think that people have that inside of them, and if they can't come to terms with it, and mediate it and balance it, through usually reflection within, then they find opportunities to harm other people, and then they justify it. And maybe I'm wrong. Look, hey, maybe I'm wrong and you're right, and that we could view people who witch burning people, we could view them. Your viewpoint is essentially they're kind of just childlike, and two, they're like hoping to throw up a witch into the heavens to sacrifice. And we could at least say, pat them on the head and say,
no, don't mischaracterize.
But I'm not mischaracterizing, but you're giving at least the credit to the person of saying, they believe that the sacrifice would work. And maybe you're right a little bit about that, but I think that there's at least some portion of the population.
For sure,
maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe some people do that. Maybe some people just mistakenly make sacrifices because they're afraid. I think there's also people representative in this film of the priests that essentially sent people to war. I think there are people that are very much just love power, and they exercise power, and they mainly exercise power by harming things that are weaker than them, because they know if they actually tried to exercise power against something that is of similar strength, then they'd run into some fucking problems.
I agree.
That's what I think.
I do agree that there's undeniably people that are weak in character, or however you would liken it, but use opportunities for cruelty that are easy. It's cruelty that they know they can get away with. And usually that's going to be under cover of some panic or some group or some mob or something like that. Or like some vulnerable victim that they know they can get away with it. And cruelty upon that target makes you feel more powerful, because you can lie to yourself and say that it's somehow because you're more powerful and not because you've chosen a target that is no match. But I do think that there is also a subset of the population that's perhaps larger than that one. I would say they're larger because I think if it's not, that we would have maybe a bit of a darker world than we do. I think the facade of civilization would not be able to hold back if everybody was inherently chomping at the bit to be cruel. I think that what it is that people are afraid. Like, for the most part, I think that we don't even realize how much the average person, just a human being, lives their life in a low grade of terror. And when something like a pandemic, some type of situation that brings that terror to the forefront because now it's more real. When that happens, I think the propensity to act in a way that's irrational, but in service of trying to quell that fear that's come to the front now and it's unbearable because it's much more conscious. I think that that's when we get those kind of like witch burning attitudes from, it would be your nice little neighbor suddenly has the pitchfork out type of thing.